There's only one word you can use to describe the crypto market at the moment: manipulation. We have seen the price of Bitcoin in particular spike up and down in an instant when there's good news regarding the crypto reserve and when there's bad news regarding tariffs. In today's video, we'll be taking a look at the charts, trying to identify the best possible trading opportunities, and we'll also be taking a look at the news ahead of this Friday, which will be the White House Crypto Summit. If you enjoy the content, make sure to smash that like button and subscribe. Let's jump right into the video. So this came out this morning. President Trump will supposedly reveal the Bitcoin reserve strategy at the White House Crypto Summit this Friday, according to the Commerce Secretary. Now, this would of course be big news, but I wouldn't be trying to front run this, and we'll talk about it a little bit later in the video. But as we can also see, Howard Lutnick states that Bitcoin will be treated differently from the altcoins in the US crypto reserve, which is very nice to hear because personally, I think that Bitcoin should always be the number one. And when it was included in the bracket with the other altcoins, namely Solana, Cardano, and XRP, it did worry me a little bit. But in my opinion, as long as Bitcoin is the main asset in this reserve, it would be positive for crypto. Now let's take a look at the Bitcoin chart and check out the levels that I'm currently looking at to trade. So we can see that the range that we've been operating in is 91.8K all the way up to 106K. We have broken below that range, and now we are seeing a nice pump to the upside after holding this 200-day moving average as support. So what will come next, and what are the levels that I'm looking to trade? First of all, if 91.8K starts acting as resistance and we can't get back into this range, which we were in for quite a while, starting all the way back into November, it will not be positive for Bitcoin. And if it continues to act as resistance, I will be triggering a major short for Bitcoin, targeting the lows below the 200-day moving average, sitting right around $78,000. Now, we've discussed the possibility of going way lower quite a few times over the past week, so I won't necessarily talk about that in this video, but just know that I am anticipating that Bitcoin can be moving lower before we put in a new all-time high. I know everyone is super bullish with this news, but I just have to be honest with what I'm seeing on the chart and how things seem to have been playing out. It's been very much sell the news events time and time again, in particular this bull market cycle. We had the inauguration, it was a sell the news event. We talked about the strategic crypto reserve, and the price action was a lot less positive than most people were anticipating. I know people want to go max long here, but you do need to be careful because there are a ton of resistance levels. First of all, we are currently below the Bitcoin bull market support band, which historically holds up in the bull market. As you can see, these two levels crossing, the red line and the green line, which is not positive when Bitcoin is below that level. We are below the range low at around 91.8K. The range high would be 106K, as we can see over here. And if we are to break this current level around 87K, previously I used 86.6K, but if we are to break below here, it would again be a battle between this range and the 200-day moving average. Don't go blindly long just because every other crypto influencer is telling you to. There will be a time where Bitcoin will just skyrocket, and I personally don't think that it will be leading up to this White House Crypto Summit, because in my opinion, the only way that Bitcoin and the rest of the crypto market will absolutely skyrocket when we get this White House Crypto Summit would be if they went ahead and announced a logical plan to be buying these cryptocurrencies over an extended period of time, and it was extremely transparent. If they just talk about, yeah, it's in the reserve and Bitcoin will be the priority, and it's very generic terms, yes, of course, we can still see a pump, but I think that people are trying to front run this pump. If you are a bull here and you want to be longing Bitcoin, what you want to look for is to break above the 91.8K level and not long quite yet, but also break above this diagonal trend line. Once we break above this line and hold it as support, we can go all guns blazing and head straight to the top of this range, in my honest opinion. But until then, and until it's proven that this is indeed a sustained uptrend, I would be very cautious in longing Bitcoin. And as I said, should we come all the way back to this level here, 91.8K, and it starts acting as resistance, I will be triggering a massive Bitcoin short on weeks. And that reminds me, If you want to trade with me on weeks, you can click the first link in my description down below. They have insane bonuses. Right now, a 50% deposit bonus. That means that if you deposit just $200 into your week's account, you get $1,000 back, which you can use towards your trades. It's a very solid exchange that I use on a daily basis, and I would highly recommend it. The first link in my description down below. So that's my current trading plan for Bitcoin. In times like these, you do need to be extra careful because there could be a ton of volatility, both shakeouts to the upside and the downside before Bitcoin actually determines its proper direction in the next few months. Now, one thing that's positive for Bitcoin, I must say, is the fact that the dollar is absolutely nuking. And we know typically that when the dollar nukes, it's positive for risk assets. And while we're talking about this also means that it could be bullish for stocks. Now, you can see that we're still trying to hold the 200-day moving average for the S&P 500. And if we break below here, it won't be positive, of course, but as I shared in yesterday's video, more often than not, we tend to hold this level as support, so I wouldn't be super bearish on stocks quite yet. But as I'm sure you know by now, stocks and crypto are heavily correlated. If stocks go up, crypto will likely get some fuel to move much higher, and if stocks tank, so will crypto. And back to talking about crypto, I did want to revisit this chart where, as you know, over the past couple months, I've been talking about the fact that Solana will likely underperform Ethereum. And what we're seeing here is some rejection at the top of this wedge here. So I still think that Solana could likely break down from this level against Ethereum and then break the bottom of this wedge and move much lower. If I had to pick between ETH and Sol for 2025, it would be Ethereum. And one of the core reasons why I'm saying that is look at that pump fund volume drop. As we can see, completely collapsing all the way from a high of $3.3 billion to now seeing just over $800 million in volume. This is pretty catastrophic for Pump Fund and for Solana. The reason why it's so pertinent for Solana is because I saw that 80% of their DEX volume actually came from meme coins. And now that we're seeing a little bit of a shift in how meme coins are currently operating, how everyone is aware that they always tend to rug, and no one is continuing to put their money in these coins, it's not going to be good for Solana unless there's something else that people can speculate on. And two last charts before we wrap up this quick video. ETH Bitcoin, we fell below a pretty important level, sitting right around 0.25. Now, this has previously held as support, as we can see, starting from the beginning of the month on the 1 hour chart, but it doesn't look like we're ready to move higher. I was hoping earlier that we could break above 0.03 and this would fuel ETH to outperform Bitcoin. But with how monetary policy was looking, I was always a little bit doubtful, and now we are below this level. Over the long term, this is decent risk to reward if you are to exchange Bitcoin into Ethereum, but I still think that we could be moving lower, and especially as it pertains to Ethereum's USD valuation, I will likely be accumulating more ETH right around the $1,700 range if we are lucky enough to get it. And lastly, Bitcoin dominance. This is the weekly candle thus far. Pretty big weekly candle, and you may have seen me on the Moon Show talking about this. I think that this wick will get filled. It's a bit contrarian to say this at this point in time because everyone is hoping for altcoin season, but I just don't see it with how monetary policy is looking and with how the current crypto market is playing out. I still think that the best odds are on Bitcoin dominance to continue climbing higher. And that sums up today's quick video. I know there's a lot of bullish stuff coming out. Perhaps Trump will be pausing tariffs, getting into agreements with these countries, and perhaps the White House Crypto Summit will be way more bullish than we can anticipate. But as you're aware now, I'm still favoring lower levels on Bitcoin, and I'm not incredibly bullish quite yet. If they come out and they say, hey, we're buying this amount of XRP, this amount of ADA, this amount of Solana, Bitcoin, Ethereum over this period of time, I would actually be very bullish at that point because at least it's a predicted schedule. But again, if they come out with a bunch of generic nonsense, I still think that crypto will go lower, and I still think that Bitcoin will likely at least tag the bottom of that wick right around 78K with a high probability of moving lower. Remember, the entire CME gap still hasn't been filled. If we tap into 77K, that would mark its completion. If you enjoy the content, make sure to smash that like button and subscribe, and I'll see you in tomorrow's video.